right, here to discuss those questions brought up by Kevin and more, Beverly Hallberg with the Heritage Foundation and former Missouri Congressman Don Calloway. Great to have you both.
Thanks,
Thanks, Ann. Happy New Year.
Okay, I want to start with Linda Bloom, who is one of the attorneys here that we're talking about. And excuse me, Lisa, this is what she has to say in the New York Times. She said, it doesn't cost anything to publicly air allegations. Security and relocation are expensive and were sorely needed in a case of this magnitude in a country filled with so much anger, hate, and violence. Beverly, she has said this is about protecting these women if they decided to come forward and not paying them to manufacture something.
I think in many ways it's damaging to them. If these claims are true, if they're proven true, of course they're extremely concerning. But when you have someone saying, I'll pay you, she even reached out to tabloids saying we can even do some type of interview with them if you want. She was going to get a payout herself to do this. I actually think there is then reason, as you were just reporting, to say, hey, you're getting paid for this. Are these actual allegations something that should be pushed against him? And I would say as well, when you take a look at the allegations against President Trump, I think it also begs the question, why are they having to work so hard to find women who want to speak out? There are some that have, but having to pay women, I actually think it hurts their case when they're saying he did something.
Well, and that's the thing, is that even if these are legitimate claims, if any of these women, when you have the money, as Kevin said, when money factors in and people have other questions, this is from a very prominent attorney, Douglas Wigdor, who's also in this New York Times piece. He says this: if you're getting money from someone who has an axe to grind against the person you're accusing of unlawful activity, that most certainly opens the door to a line of questioning that very well could undermine the veracity of your client's story, Don.
It's not good. I used to practice law as a younger fellow, and this is a bad fact, but it's not a determinative fact by any means. At the end of the day, you have to kind of get past the salacious nature of this whole thing and look to the nature of the claims. Is what they're saying true? Will they have their day in court? And ultimately, is it still something that's provable, yes or no? And in this Me Too moment that has affected all of our professional and public and private lives, the president is not the one person who gets to say, well, they were paid. That's not the case. The New York Times, the Washington Post, whatever political slant they may take, is a pretty standard practice, as Kevin reported, to pay witnesses to come forward with various news pieces. Again, this is not a good fact, but it's not a determinative fact by any means. What we should be looking at is whether or not what these women are saying is true.
Well, and in so many of these cases, if you're in the middle of an election, as you said, it's so important to have due process and have your day in court. But Beverly, so many times when these are in the middle of the campaigns, there's not going to be that time. So it's now just the court of public opinion, and that can have a significant impact on who gets elected and who doesn't.
And you were even saying with this was about Lisa Bloom coming out and saying we wanted to do this prior to the election. So this was also trying to change the trajectory of election, which I do have concerns with. I would say when you're taking a look at accusations, you have to say, can you corroborate this information? Are there multiple people? Are they speaking on their own? This is where the payment gets a little bit tricky, because if they are getting paid off, you wonder why they're doing it. So you have to look at multiple people speaking out, figuring out whether or not anybody else can corroborate it, because I think that's what it comes down to in figuring out whether or not it's actual proof.
Yeah, and Don, folks have done this on both sides of the aisle. I mean,
Sure.
There are Democrat strategists, Republican strategists, people out there. In the New York Times piece talks about going back to Paula Jones and beyond that. I mean, there have been coordinations across the years and across party lines on this kind of thing.
There have, and so it's not really a partisan issue. But I would also think, as Kevin reported, there's very practical matters to why you would pay a witness or someone to come forward. First of all, the day that a woman comes forward, her life is no longer hers. She's a public figure, whether or not she asked for it. She's got media camped out, and her name is in front of the world. Perhaps that's something that you have to incentivize someone to do if their claims have any truth. Secondly, if this thing moves towards legal proceedings, as the Blooms and Allreds of the world want it to happen, lawsuits cost money. You have depositions, you have court reporters, all these things that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to pay for that ultimately have to be financed. So again, I realize that the money is not a good fact here for big-time Democrats here, but it's kind of unfortunately the reality that we live in, and it doesn't mean that these women do not have serious claims which should be really looked at.
Well, and Beverly, some of the women over the last few weeks that we've heard about these reports with Lisa Bloom ultimately decided not to come forward. They either wanted a lot more money because they thought their lives were never going to be private again, they wanted security and that kind of thing, or for whatever reason they personally decided it wasn't worth a personal cost to them. Yeah,
and you have to take that into consideration. There is, as you were just saying, a lot that can happen to women who do come out. Their name is out there. What does this mean for their career? But I even want to take a look at Lisa Bloom and look at some of her past trajectory in these cases. She did defend Harry Weinstein. There are some concerns about, okay, if you are an attorney who wants to stand up for women's rights, why did you defend Harry Weinstein, and why are you now saying we want to go against Trump? It looks political, and I think maybe that's why some of the women decided we don't want her to defend us in this.
I think even she has kind of backtracked on that, saying maybe that wasn't the best decision, because, you know, it doesn't, you as an attorney, you know, we know that you're not always, you know, in simpatico with your client, but
listen, there's no doubt it's political. And let's just put out there that Harvey Weinstein is a terrible guy, right? And I think that's one thing that everybody can agree on in the new year. It's extremely political. That is absolutely the case. But that's kind of the nature of the game that we've all chosen to play. And so can't deny that it's political, but again, we also can't deny that these women might not have very serious claims that should be considered.
True. I mean, both of those things can be true at the same time. Don and Beverly, great to see you both.
Thank you, Shannon.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
We're not even going to ask about resolutions and if you've broken them yet.
Attorney Lisa Bloom is now under fire after reportedly offering money to women willing to accuse the president of prior harassment. At the very least, Bloom engaged in a perverse kind of financial incentive to attract accusers, truth being a perhaps secondary consideration. Now Bloom is going on the attack, smearing the reporter who broke the story, John Solomon of The Hill, calling him a far-right journalist. In reality, John has broken many important stories this year. He joins us now with his side of the story. John, you far-right journalist, used to work for the AP.
That's
You
right.
did stories about rape in the Congo all those years ago. I mean, you won awards and so forth. But by the way, in law school, I had a license plate on my Honda Civic that said far-right. So does that, am I part?
You clearly are,
Literally
yeah.
said far-right on it. Everyone thought it was very funny. So she's on the attack, saying that you're distorting what really happened. It's not fair. What's your reaction?
You know, I learned a long time ago. I've been an investigative reporter for 30 years. If you can't attack the facts, you try to do an ad hominem attack on the reporter. The facts are unassailable. And it is true that though she says she represented women pro bono, she had a nice way of collecting a 33% commission by selling their stories to the tabloids. It's unassailable that she arranged for donors, possibly related to the election, to pay these women money. And I think the women, at least one of the women, described a lot of pressure she felt as the election day got nearer for her to try to come out and make these allegations against Trump. Those are things that are not in dispute.
This is what Lisa Bloom told Joy Reid over the weekend. Let's watch.
Donors reached out to us and said, my God, what can we do to help her or other women come forward? They're in fear. You know, we have this very unequal playing field here. And we discussed arranging for security and relocation services for any women who wanted it. I want to be very clear. Neither Hillary Clinton nor anyone from her campaign was associated with any of those offers for relocation and security.
John, no one from the campaign, Hillary, didn't know anything about it. What little factoids should she leave out in that?
Well, one of them is she will not answer whether she talked to the Clinton super PACs, which is where the real big money is in the election, right? The candidates are capped at $2,400. Super PACs can take a lot more money. She will not answer the question. I've asked it 100 times. Can't get an answer out of her.
She also didn't talk about that little mortgage payment for that house in Queens
Let's go through some of the things.
hated.
Yeah, one of the women got offered $750,000. You could buy the Secret Service detail for that. You don't need that much protection. And there was other things going on. The woman said one of them wanted their mortgage to get paid. The other woman said, I want my college tuition for my kids paid. It was a lot more than security.
I want to read an email, a story that you broke tonight on The Hill from Jill Harth, the New York makeup artist who accused President Trump in a suit she ultimately dropped in 1997, alleging some type of misconduct. This is what she wrote. She wrote to Trump's assistant, Rona Graff. I also want to put it out there that I would be willing to say at a rally or somewhere how Trump helped me with my self-confidence and all positive things about he is with women to counter any potential negativity that may come out at some point in the campaign. Now, this is from a woman who supposedly was going to come out and came out and said, well, he mistreated me,
in between her two
broke me or something like that. That she.
In between her two accusations, there's a much greater context to this email. She wanted a job with the Trump campaign. She asked to be his campaign makeup artist.
Whoa. Someone gropes you. You actually file a suit that you ultimately drop, but you obviously can't like him. Allegedly did this. Then she wants to work in the campaign as a makeup artist?
More than that, she wanted him to be the pitch man for her new cosmetic product.
Oh, anything else?
No, that's it. Those are the two things that
what was
came
it?
up
What was it? Mascara? For
it was
eye?
called.
What was Donald Trump going to have, like mascara on? What was he possibly going to put on his face?
Yeah, it was a whole male beauty product line.
Wait, so she wanted him to do infomercials for her? Like
well, some sort of pitchman work. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But she came out and said tonight that, I had gotten over the prior, but she was mad that Donald Trump said it didn't happen.
That's right. And so she
Oh
went,
my, this is ridiculous.
if you follow her story, she was angry at him, then not angry at him.
Do my makeup line. I don't like you.
Yeah. Working a business deal, and they got angry at him again when he denied the allegations.
Now, Lisa Bloom said that none of this changes the fact that she did not tell women to make up stories.
That's right.
And that you wrote that in your original piece.
Yeah, none of the women said they were asked to say anything.
No.
Now, there was one episode that is kind of interesting. One woman was asked to take all of her pro-Trump comments down from Facebook so that her story would be more believable. So that did happen.
Oh, okay. But they weren't told, you say this and I'll give you extra money.
No, not at all. No.
Well, it's so good to talk to a far-right journalist tonight, and all of your credentials over there.
It's a weird feeling sound to me.
Yeah.
All right.
John, it's always great to see you. Thanks so
Laura.
much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. God bless you. And God bless America.